Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're setting sail on one of the greatest adventure stories ever written, Treasure Island. We're talking pirates, we're talking mutiny, and of course, a hunt for buried gold that has hooked readers for generations. Let's get right into it.
You know that song, right? That is the sound of the high seas, of pure danger and adventure. This little sea shanty, sung by the terrifying old pirate Billy Bones, is what drops us right into the world of Treasure Island. It instantly throws you into this gritty world where life is cheap and a massive fortune is just waiting to be found.
And that's the big question we're going to tackle today. I mean, sure, the story is packed with action. There's no doubt about that. But what if, just beneath the surface, there's a totally different kind of map, one that leads to something way more valuable than gold? Okay, so to really get the story, you've got to get the guy who wrote it. And Robert Louis Stevenson's life was its own kind of adventure, a constant search, not for treasure, but for his health, for love, and for a way to actually make a living with his words. So just look at this timeline of his life. It was just one quest after another. He was born into this family of famous engineers, but his quest was to become a writer. He was sick all the time, so he was on this constant quest, traveling the globe, just looking for a climate where he could breathe. All of this searching, this constant movement, well, it pours directly into the adventures he creates. And what's so wild is that this epic story didn't come from some grand, brilliant plan. Nope. It literally started as a game. Stevenson was stuck inside, sick, like usual, and just to keep his stepson entertained, he drew a map of an island. He made up names like Spyglass Hill and Skeleton Island, and from that one little drawing, this whole world just exploded into life. And get this, his stepson, Lloyd Osborne, was just 11 years old. So Stevenson wasn't trying to write some great work of literature. He was just trying to make a story for a kid. And that's probably why the book feels so exciting and so real. It was written chapter by chapter, just to answer that one simple question. Okay, what happens next? But let's be real, there was a very practical side to all this too. Stevenson had just gotten married, he had a family now, and he desperately needed a hit, a real bestseller. So while the story might have been born from a game, it was written with a very serious goal, to make enough money to support his family. The hunt for Captain Flynn's treasure was also Stevenson's hunt for some financial security.
All right, so now that we know the author's story, let's dive into the incredible adventure he created. We're about to meet our hero, a young kid named Jim Hawkins, whose entire world is about to get flipped completely upside down. And this plot just takes off like a rocket. One minute, Jim is just a normal kid working at his family's inn. The next, boom, he's holding the map to a legendary pirate fortune. He sets sail with these respectable gentlemen, Dr. Livesey and Squire Trelawney, but the crew they hire? Well, not so respectable. Hiding in an apple barrel, Jim overhears the whole plan for a mutiny, led by the ship's charming, one-legged cook, Long John Silver. From that second on, it is just a non-stop fight for survival on this island, full of secrets and danger. Now, every great adventure needs a great villain, right? But Long John Silver? Oh, he's a whole other level. He is, without a doubt, the most fascinating character in this whole book, and he is the single biggest challenge that Jim Hawkins has to face. And here's what makes him so brilliant. On one hand, Silver is a totally ruthless pirate, a liar, a murderer, no question. But on the other hand, he's also smart, he's funny, and he's incredibly charismatic. He kind of takes Jim under his wing, and even after Jim finds out he's a traitor, he can't help but feel this weird admiration for the guy. Silver isn't just a bad guy, he's complicated. Exactly. I mean, Stevenson was so far ahead of his time with this character. Silver is the kind of morally gray anti-hero we see in all the big TV shows today. He's the villain you kind of find yourself rooting for, even when you know you absolutely shouldn't. He forces Jim, and us, the readers, to see that the world isn't just black and white, good versus evil. And that is the key right there. By creating a villain with this much charisma, this much depth, Stevenson took what could have been a simple kid's book and leveled it up into something way richer and more mature. The challenges Jim faces aren't just about, fighting pirates. They're moral. Who can you trust? What's right and what's wrong when all the lines get blurry? So, all of this brings us back to that big question we started with. If this story isn't just about pirates and gold, then what is it about? What's the real treasure that Jim Hawkins actually finds on this crazy journey?
Well, Treasure Island is a perfect example of what we call the heroic quest. See, in a heroic quest, the shiny object at the end, the gold, the treasure, that's not the real point. The real point is how the hero changes along the way. The gold is just the thing that kicks off the journey. The real journey is the one that happens inside.
And that is the heart of the whole thing. Jim leaves home as a boy, but he comes back as a young man. He's been forced to be brave, to think on his feet, to make these impossible choices, and to stare death right in the face. And through it all, he discovers what he's made of, his own fear, yeah, but also his incredible courage. That self-knowledge, that's the real treasure.
And this is why the book is so much more than just a cool pirate story, and why it's so important for anyone, especially when you're trying to figure out your own life. These lessons are timeless. Understanding yourself, that's the real prize. Realizing that people are complicated, a mix of good and bad, that's just part of growing up. Knowing that courage isn't about not being scared, it's about doing the thing anyway. And at the end of the day, what you get in life matters way less than what you do with it. Jim himself says this at the very end of the book, and it's just a perfect summary of the whole theme. The gold didn't change anybody. It just showed who they already were. Some guys used it wisely, some just wasted it. The treasure was really just a test of their character.
And that's it, right there. That's the ultimate takeaway for all of us. Any quest you go on, for money, for fame, for whatever prize is out there, is really a journey to discover who you actually are. The challenges you face don't just get you to a destination, they reveal your true nature. So look, whether you've got a literal treasure map or you're just drawing the map for your own future, the real journey is about discovering the person you're meant to become. The question Treasure Island really leaves us with is this: what's the treasure that you're truly searching for?